Hi, let's go. How are we all doing? How are we doing, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while. It has been a while. But yeah, so welcome. So today we are going to be playing Dagon. So this is, bear with me, let me get the Steam page up, right. So Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft. Face unspeakable horrors, succumb to madness. Welcome to a free demonic narrative experience inspired by H.P. Lovecraft. So the reviews are overwhelmingly positive, right? And it's a free game. You know I'm a sucker for free games. Like, come on now. So this has been in my Steam library for since it came out. I think it's only recently come out. Yeah, 24th of September. So not even a month. And I'm buzzing for it, to be honest. So, without further ado, let's start this and let's hopefully get some spooks. Alright, Dagon is a faithful interactive adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's work focused on story and atmosphere. You will not find difficult choices, action sequences, or inventory management here. Yes, our movement is limited to progressing through locations along with the plot. Perfect. Because we all know inventory management stresses me the fuck out.
I am writing this under an appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Oh. Also, if you've noticed that half my fire is on face, I've got a candle right here, so don't worry. It's what I made. Keep your eyes out on this space. That's all I'm saying. Anywho. Right, during the game you will encounter interactive elements. Some of them will allow you to continue your journey, others reveal interesting facts about the original short story, its historical background, and the author. AK, my man, how you doing? Some of the trivia is hidden. In order to find the secrets, focus your eyes and look for the Elder sign. Is that the Elder sign? Is it a tree branch? You can also access all the found facts later. They will be available in the main menu. Alright, lovely. Okay, can I... Sensitivity, gotta pop that up a little bit. Let's take motion blur off as well. That's better. Little bit more. The usual Joy's Mondays, hope you're well. This game is giving me laser fear vibes. The usual Monday vibes, oh. I'm sorry, Monday sucks, but just remember, you're a great white shark and sharks don't fear fucking nobody. So show everybody that you are a damn shark. Yeah, I'm good. Better than last week anyway. Glad to be back. And yeah, this is very layers of theory, isn't it?
And at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below.
Oh, I cast myself from this window. Although, right, one thing that I am loving is the fact that I don't have to read it myself. It's a free game with voice acting. Praise be the gods.
Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate.
Alright, so are we a morphine addict?
When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death. It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
Is the sound okay? If it's not, can somebody let me know?
The forces of the HUN had not completely sunk to their later degradation.
Oh, the HUN! Oh, the HUN have arrived!
So that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Alright, so they got captured. Oh, right, the HUNS. Okay, so the Huns were not what I imagined they were. Okay, so the Huns were Central Asian nomads who established a dominion. Oh, keep pulling my headset out. It's not good, is it? I can see on my forehead from this angle. Look at this FOD. Anywho, right, who established a dominion in Europe and invaded the Roman Empire in the 5th century AD. They were known as brutal... I thought that said daddy. They were known as brutal, deadly warriors and masters of quick grades who also developed powerful composite bows, lassos and early siege weapons. So they were deadly mofos, basically. During World War I, the British used the word Huns as a synonym for Germans in order to emphasise their brutality. However, the term originated when the German Emperor, Wilhelm II, gave a speech to his troops on 27th of July 1900, before they embarked to China. Should you encounter the enemy, he will be defeated. No quarter will be given. Prisoners will not be taken. Whoever falls into your hand is fortified. Forfeited. Got that. Just as 1,000 years ago, the Huns under their King Attila made a name for themselves, one that even today makes them seem mighty in history and legend. May the name German be affirmed by you in such a way in China that no Chinese will ever again dare to look cross-eyed at a German. Okay, I'm just going to skim over that part. The refusal to take prisoners was a clear breach of the law and customs of war adopted during the First Hague Convention of 1899. Alright. So the Huns didn't take prisoners, they were like, nah. Right. So they basically just killed everyone, like, fuck it. All dead.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors, that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone, in a small boat, with water and provisions for a good length of time. When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings.
Now this, to me, is terrifying. Being adrift in a sea, in the middle of fucking nowhere, in a boat. No thanks, because, right, what if a storm just happened because, you know, the sea's, like, temperamental and shit? I'm dead. What if I get eaten by a shark? Dead. What if, like, a massive blue whale capsizes me? Dead. What if a kraken just, you know, wraps his tentacles around my boat and pulls me under? Dead. I'll pass. I'll stay on the boat with my enemies. I'll just stay on their boat, thanks. Remember, you're a great white? Nah, but I'm not though, am I? I am just a weakling in a boat who'll be a meal for a great white shark. Because they're swimming underneath me, be like, oh look, a seal. Chomp. And then they get me instead. Some human. I'm like, no thanks. I've seen too many horror films about divers who dive down into the ocean and they get stuck and they've got like a limited supply of air. No, thank you.
Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator.
I mean, I fucking looked the wrong way for the sunrise, so I can't say shit. I'd be shit in this situation.
Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
May as well just eat my own arm then, I guess.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Thanks, game, for making me look like the moon in this scene. Appreciate.
ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue.
Mood.
The change happened whilst I slept.
I just hope that there isn't a storm.
Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Told ya. Krakens. Hiya, buddy.
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see.
What's that one doing? Is it face planting? It's like, I'm stuck.
And in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
It's like right there. Stop being dramatic.
Though one might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery, I was in reality more horrified than astonished.
I mean, yeah, just waking up in the middle of the ocean. Well, going to sleep in the middle of the ocean and then waking up to a squid face planting. That'd be quite the transformation of landscape. I agree.
For there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core.
Cthulhu Daddy, bet you.
The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain.
Protruding. Nice choice of word.
Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity.
Oh, there's a squid on my boat. Excuse me, sir.
There was nothing within hearing, and nothing in sight, save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear.
What does homogeneity mean? Bear with me. That's a big word I've not come across before. Bear with me. I must Google. Homogeneity. Homogeneity. Right. The quality or state of being all the same or all of the same kind. Ah. Now we know.
The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
I'm more concerned about the squid that's on our boat. Like, has he claimed that now? Is it finders keepers? Do we need to find a new boat? Ew. That sounds moist.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths.
Oh, so the sea floor is now on the earth floor. What's that thing? Why is it breathing?
So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
I want more, like, information about the HUNS.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens.
He's got a face.
As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for travelling purposes in a short time.
I still don't trust that heaving mountain of heavingness.
That night I slept but little, and the next next day, I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Imagine just like sitting in the boat and then them tentacles keep on like thwacking you in the head, like I'm like, no. Okay, anything else? No.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Is that like a manta ray? I think it is. Ew. Just gonna walk over that giant squid.
All day I forged steadily westward,
Ooh.
guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Y'all seeing this? Like, what the fuck's that? Like, that's not friendly. That's not a friendly thing. I mean, yeah, that's a great white shark. But like in tiger form. That's like if a tiger and a great white had a baby. I mean, I can't say tiger shark because that already exists. That has very large pincers. Let's hope it's dead. Oh, the poor whale. Ew. Ew. That like pincer was like spider
That night,
shark.
I encamped, and
Spider
on the following day
thing.
still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
This is called a sea worm. Oh. The horrors of the ocean. Cthulhu, daddy! I was correct. Okay, the creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underwater city of... Oh wait, I can't say that. Riley was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean because the water pressure would make it uninhabitable. Today we know that the darkest depths of the ocean are home to many peculiar organisms. The deepest dwelling fish we have discovered so far, the Mariana snailfish, can live about 8,000 metres, more than 26,000 feet, below the ocean's surface, in never-ending darkness and at hellishly crushing pressures, hundreds of times stronger than those found at sea level. Upon glancing at the modern photos of deep-sea creatures, such as the anglerfish, the fang-toothed or the viperfish, and their truly Lovecraftian characteristics, it's hard not to find some irony in this. Right, deep-sea creatures are cool as fuck. Do I want to meet any of them? Hell no. But are they cool? They're cool as fuck. And I believe, right, that at the very point where it's like the darkest and like the most crushing of pressures, there's just a kraken. He's just there, just chilling with his tentacles. Like, one day I'm gonna get these humans, and he's just planning his time. He's just baiting, and then one day, he's gonna come to the surface, and he's gonna do all of his kraken things. Y'all just wait, I'm calling it.
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
That's how mountains work, hon.
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night.
Maybe because you've just gone past a load of deep sea creatures that are terrifying with rather large pincers. Maybe that's why. Just a guess though, hon.
But ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain,
That's my favourite insult ever, calling somebody a gibbon. Anywho.
I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Where'd my mountain go?
Such visions as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again. And in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
We were just facing the wrong way. That's cool.
Indeed, I now felt quite able to perform the ascent which had deterred me at sunset.
We got this. Look at that beautiful sky though. Look at all them stars.
Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence. I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me. But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
Oh no, I don't like that. Something about there being nothing. No, I don't like that. That made me feel uncomfortable.
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost.
Like, that's just nothing. There is nothing. Would you just continue to fall? Like, until your heart gave out? Like, how long would you have to fall before you died? And would there be, like, a bottom? If there was a bottom, would you even want to reach it? Because what creatures would be down there? No thanks.
One of Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness. As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
Oh heck. I don't want to look out. I don't like.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent.
Do we have to?
Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual. Urged on by an impulse which I cannot definitely analyze, I scrambled with difficulty down the rocks and stood on the gentler slope beneath.
So long as there's ground, we're okay.
Gazing into the Stygian deeps, where no light had yet penetrated.
Not a good enough situation for the use of the word penetrated, but I'm going to let it slide.
All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon. That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself.
Is it though? Or is it aliens?
But I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
That looks too man-made to be the work of nature. Look at it, it's like a perfect rectangle.
A closer scrutiny filled me with sensations I cannot express. For despite its enormous magnitude, and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young, I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Aliens,
Dazed
told
and
y'all.
frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely. The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm, and revealed the fact that a far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight in both directions and almost lapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across the chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the Cyclopean monolith,
I like all them engravings, that's cool.
on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures. The writing was in a system of hieroglyphics unknown to me and unlike anything I'd ever seen in books.
Well, that's a turtle, that's a shark, that's a seahorse, that's a hammerhead shark. I think that's the megalodon. That's a jellyfish. What have we got over here? That's a... that's another jellyfish. That's a crab. That's a starfish. And there's some shells.
Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like.
Where's the eel? I can't see no eel. Oh, there. I found the eel.
Characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world,
That's Cthulhu.
but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Storytelling methods. Dagon contains many themes and storytelling methods that Lovecraft developed in his later works, such as telling the story through carvings, At the Mountains of Madness, The Nameless City, journals and character notes, The Shadows Out of Time, The Hunter of the Dark, islands emerging from the ocean, The Call of Cthulhu, or fictional beings and deities based on real events and mythologies, Mygo in The Whisperer in Darkness. It is also considered the origin of the popular Cthulhu mythos. Some of Lovecraft's other stories also conclude in a manner similar to Dagon. Let's get the detail in order not to spoil the ending. Oh, thanks for not spoiling.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Dore.
What's a Dore? God, more words I don't understand. Bear with me. Right. Dory, noun, Canadian. Another term for a walleye. What the fuck's a walleye? An eye with a streaked or opaque iris. A North American pike perch with large opaque silvery eyes. Is a commercially valuable food fish and a popular sporting fish.
I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men. Though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto,
Mermen.
or paying homage at some monolithic shrine, which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint. Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a Bulwer. They were damnably human in general outline, despite webbed hands and feet, shockingly wide and flabby lips.
God, not the flabby lips!
Glassy, bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall.
It's the flabby lips for me.
Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself.
He's a big boy then.
I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size,
Unless these are just like very small whales.
but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe. Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
That's cool.
awestruck at this unexpected glimpse into a past beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist. I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
What? Where? Can I see it? I've seen it!
With only a slight churning to mark its rise to the surface, the thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Awake. Awake, I'm scared.
It darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the marlin.
Oh, my heart, I'm dead. Okay. We're okay. Oh.
Which it flung its gigantic scaly arms. The wild bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
Did we disturb your nap, kind sir? I'm sorry. Whoa. Y'all see that?
I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the sloping cliff and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Oh, it's going to be chasing us, isn't it? No, thank you.
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
Oh, the whale.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat.
Told you there was going to be a storm.
At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other terms which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in the San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean.
So we were never
In my
shipwrecked.
delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention.
But that big boy, he was real thick.
Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing. Nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Right, the journalist. Lovecraft was a prominent figure in the world of amateur journalism in 1915. He started publishing his own journal called The Conservative, which included political and social commentary, poetry, short stories, and literary criticism written by him and other authors. Howard was a skilled wordsmith, but he also took criticism to heart, which resulted in his decision to step away from writing poetry and concentrate on weird fiction again. For the first time since his teenage years, Dagon published... Wait, what? Oh, for the first time since his teenage years, right. Dagon, published in 1917, is one of the short stories written during that period. In this example excerpt from The Conservative, the master of horror fiction explains his attitude towards warfare and the idea of world peace. Why any sane human being can believe in the possibility of universal peace is more than the Conservative can fathom. Should the entire civilized world agree simultaneously to disarm, one or more nations would undoubtedly retain secret armaments and at the proper time take advantage of their more altruistic and less astute, oh god, that's a big word, contemporaries in a wild career of conquest against unarmed victims. No country is or ever can be above warfare until the basic impulses of the human animal shall have miraculously changed. Basically, there'll never be world peace. Basically, because we don't trust each other.
Once I sought out a celebrated ethnologist and amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Here we go, right, Dagon. Dagon, or Dagan, was the main deity of the Philistines, worshipped throughout the Middle East as the ancient god of fertility and crops. In Hebrew, the word Dagon was a common noun for grain. The rulers of Akkad chose him as the patron saint of their war conquests. He also appeared as the judge of the dead in a Assyrian poem and an underworld prisoner warder in one of the Babylonian texts. He's often mistaken for a fish god due to the wrong interpretation of his name, as in Hebrew the word dag means fish. In H.P. Lovecraft's works, Dagon is a underwater deity ruling over the deep ones, a humanoid race with fish traits that resides in the ocean. He is worshipped by a secret cult called the Esoteric Order of Dagon. That's cool.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
Alright. August Derleth and the Cthulhu Mythos. August Derleth was an American writer and anthologist. He also befriended Lovecraft and published many of his works throughout his company Arkham House. Although he greatly contributed to the popularization of the author's work after his death, he is surrounded by numerous controversies. One of his most questionable decisions involved introducing the good versus evil doctrine. Derleth was a devout Catholic to the Cthulhu mythos, which contrasted with Lovecraftian's view of the world and his approach to cosmic horror. As a result, the author's works are often misunderstood and misrepresented in today's culture. It is also worth noting that Lovecraft was never really interested in creating a mythology, and the term Cthulhu mythos was coined by Derleth after the author left the mortal plane. To be fair, I'll have to play Call of Cthulhu again. What am I clicking on? Wait, why did it bring me over here then? It's just so I could tell the time. Joke's on you, I can't read the time. I can, just as an aside.
It is at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
No! Alright, Lovecraft on tobacco and alcohol. Lovecraft hated tobacco. Even though he used to smoke when he was 12 in order to look and feel like an adult, in his correspondence with a friend, Reinhard Kleiner, he claims that he quit as soon as he started wearing long pants. Long pants. He also had a very strong opinion about alcohol, as evidenced by his letter to Zelia Brown, dated 13th of February 1928. That's the day before Valentine's Day. I wonder if he had a Valentine's. As for the matter of drinking, I have never tasted intoxicating liquor and never intend to. Having a strong aesthetic disgust at everything which blunts or coarsens the delicate natural equips of the evolved human intellect and imagination. Drinking excited my personal repugnance, hence I don't drink. Let the herd do what they will. I am rather in favour of prohibition. The prohibition of any one antisocial force as well as of any other. He didn't like the alcohols. Which I don't blame him, I don't like the alcohols either.
I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. a mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the open boat after my escape from the German man-of-war. This I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision in reply. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite.
That's terrifying. Terrifying.
I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind.
Oh, don't get me.
A day when the land shall sink and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Oh, just an army of, like, squids. Imagine. How terrifying.
The end is near.
That was a big old squelch. Hey, squelching on my bridge. Hello?
I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense slippery body lumbering against it.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
It shall not find me.
Hide under the bed. Oh shit, it found me.
God, that hand! The window! The window!
Ew. Huh, so that's why we jump out the window then. Thank you for playing. We hope you enjoyed immersing yourself in a little pool of cosmic horror. We'd appreciate it if you took a moment to rate Dagon and check out the other games and DLCs. Wait, the Little Glass Ball DLC. What's that one? What is that? Oh, that one's not released yet. I'm gonna add it to my wish list. That was cool. But I liked that. That was so good. That was so cool. Did I get all the? I didn't get all the trophies. Wait, find half of the trivia pieces hidden in the game. Find all the trivia. I didn't find all the trivia pieces? I missed a lot. What the fuck? We're gonna go find all the trivia pieces. If I just continue.
I hear a noise at the door.
Alright, okay.
It shall not find me.
So we're gonna play through that again and we're gonna try and find all the trivia.
God, that hand!
What if we don't jump out the window?
The window! The window!
What if we just keep looking at it? You gonna do anything? I guess not. Okay then. Right, so yes. We need to find all the trivia.
An appreciable mental strain, since by tonight I shall be no more.
Right, wait, we need to focus our eyes. Oh, well, I wasn't doing that. I immediately find one. I'm a genius. Alright. Lovecraft's letters. As to my letters, my case is peculiar. I write such things exactly as easily and as rapidly as I would utter the same topics in conversation. Indeed, epistolary expression is with me largely replacing conversation, as my condition of nervous proposition becomes more and more acute. I cannot bear to talk too much, and I am becoming as silent as a spectre himself. My loquacity extends itself on paper. Throughout his life, Lovecraft penned around 100,000 letters to his friends and fans, out of which about 10% survive to this day. But his tendency to endless correspondence was a relatively late growth. In youth, I scarcely did any letter writing. Thanking anybody for a present was so much of an ordeal that I would rather have written a 250-line pastoral or a 20-page treatise on the rings of Saturn. Lovecraft would often skip meals to afford postage. Collections of his correspondence have been published in various books, and selected letters can be found online. Some readers consider them his most important legacy.
Penniless, and at the end of my supply of the drug which alone makes life endurable, I can bear the torture no longer, and shall cast myself from this garret window into the squalid street below. Do not think from my slavery to morphine that I am a weakling or a degenerate. When you have read these hastily scrawled pages, you may guess, though never fully realize, why it is that I must have forgetfulness or death.
Okay, I don't think we had some before, did we? Morphine. Morphine entered into use in the 19th century and was routinely administered to treat severe pain during the American Civil War and World War I. It was also sold without restriction until 1914. Morphine became more popular after the invention of the hypodermic syringe around 1854. Frederick, who first isolated the substance, originally named it morphium, after Morpheus, the Greek god associated with dreams. At the time when Dagon was published, morphine abuse, known as soldier's disease, already posed a big problem in the United States. So I take it it's going to be like one thing per scene, maybe.
It was in one of the most open and least frequented parts of the broad Pacific that the packet of which I was supercargo fell a victim to the German sea raider.
How the fuck did I miss that? Lovecraft and the Great War. Dagon was written around a month after the United States entered World War I. Lovecraft was actively interested in its cause. He composed many poems in which he gave encouragement to soldiers and commented on the events unfolding in Europe. He tried to enlist in the army, which he mentions in one of the letters to Reinhard Kleiner. Some time ago, impressed by my entire uselessness in the world, I resolved to attempt enlistment despite my almost invalid condition. I argued that if I chose a regiment soon to depart for France, my sheer nervous force, which is not inconsiderable, might sustain me till a bullet or piece of shrapnel could more conclusively and effectively dispose of me. But even though he passed the physical exam, his mother prevented him from going to the war. She has threatened to go to any lengths, legal or otherwise, if I do not reveal all the ills which unfit me for the army. Damn! Mama don't want him to go.
The Great War was then at its very beginning, and the ocean forces of the Hun had not completely sunk to their later degradation, so that our vessel was made a legitimate prize, whilst we of her crew were treated with all the fairness and consideration due us as naval prisoners.
Now we have the flag. Alright, let's continue.
So liberal, indeed, was the discipline of our captors that 5 days after we were taken, I managed to escape alone in a small boat with water and provisions for a good length of time.
Alright. Where's this very obvious sign that I'm definitely going to miss? Is it in the sky? There definitely doesn't seem to be one on there. Unless I'm extremely blind. Well, it is quite dark. I don't think so.
When I finally found myself adrift and free, I had but little idea of my surroundings. Never a competent navigator, I could only guess vaguely by the sun and stars that I was somewhat south of the equator. Of the longitude, I knew nothing, and no island or coastline was in sight.
Okay, anything? Again, I can't see anything.
The weather kept fair, and for uncounted days I drifted aimlessly beneath the scorching sun, waiting either for some passing ship or to be cast on the shores of some habitable land.
Oh, there we go. Right, the return to short stories. Dagon was written in July 1917 and first published in 1919 in The Vagrant, an amateur magazine focused on the supernatural. The story is the first of his stories that introduce an element from the Cthulhu mythos, Dagon itself. A pagan cult worshipping Dagon later appears in The Shadow over Innsmouth, one of Lovecraft's most popular works. 1917 is also the year when he wrote The Tomb, a story about Jarvis Dudley, a daydreamer who discovers a mysterious mausoleum in the woods by his house and becomes obsessed with it. These two works marked Lovecraft's return to short story writing after he burned most of his attempts at the genre 9 years prior and decided to concentrate on poetry. Lovecraft stated that it was his friend, William Paul Cook, a literary publisher and critic, who convinced him to start writing weird fiction again. I mean, this might be a little bit selfish, but I'm glad he did. What happens? What keeps happening there? I don't understand. Okay.
But neither ship nor land appeared, and I began to despair in my solitude upon the heaving vastness of unbroken blue. The change happened whilst I slept. Its details I shall never know, for my slumber, though troubled and dream-infested, was continuous.
Ah yes, hi squid friends! Okay, do you have any, like, herbs on you, or anything like that? Because I need to find some lore. Can you point me in the direction of lore?
When at last I awoke, it was to discover myself half sucked into a slimy expanse of hellish black mire, which extended about me in monotonous undulations as far as I could see, and in which my boat lay grounded some distance away.
It's still right there, it's not that far.
I might well imagine that my first sensation would be of wonder at so prodigious and unexpected a transformation of scenery. I was in reality more horrified than astonished, for there was in the air and in the rotting soil a sinister quality which chilled me to the very core. The region was putrid with the carcasses of decaying fish and of other, less describable things which I saw protruding from the nasty mud of the unending plain. Perhaps I should not hope to convey in mere words the unutterable hideousness that can dwell in absolute silence and barren immensity. There was nothing within hearing and nothing in sight save a vast reach of black slime. Yet the very completeness of the stillness and the homogeneity of the landscape oppressed me with a nauseating fear. The sun was blazing down from a sky which seemed to me almost black in its cloudless cruelty, as though reflecting the inky marsh beneath my feet.
To be fair, this is very well written, I'll give it that. Has anybody got any lore for me? Oh, you do? Oh, thank you. Right, the origins of Dagon. Dagon seems to be inspired by Fishhead, a short novel by Irvin S. Cobb about unnatural affinities between a hybrid idiot and the strange fish of an isolated lake. Supernatural horror in literature, H.P. Lovecraft, blah blah blah. And Lovecraft's dream about a strange island emerging from the ocean and him crawling in the ooze that covered its surface. I dreamed that whole hideous crawl, and yet can feel the ooze sucking me down. Lovecraft's interest in the topic stemmed from his aversion to fish and sea smells. In his own words, I have hated fish and feared the sea and everything connected with it since I was 2 years old, but I cannot recall what earlier experience gave me such a profound and lasting aversion to the sea and seafood. I feel that. That's a mood. Thank you, fish. Okay, do you have anything? Do you have anything, kind sir? No. How about you? Nope. How about you, Mr. Starfish? No. Alright, lovely, thank you.
As I crawled into the stranded boat, I realized that only one theory could explain my position. Through some unprecedented volcanic upheaval, a portion of the ocean floor must have been thrown to the surface, exposing regions for which innumerable millions of years had lain hidden under unfathomable watery depths. So great was the extent of the new land which had risen beneath me that I could not detect the faintest noise of the surging ocean, straining my ears as I might. Nor were there any seafowl to prey upon the dead things.
Okay, any more secrets? Do you have a secret? Do you have a secret? Do any of you lot have secrets? Oh, the landed. The mystery of volcanic islands. Volcanic eruptions sometimes result in the creation of islands. Most of them are transient and erode after some time, but some prove permanent. The floating pumice, porous rock created when superheated pressurized rock is ejected from a volcano, can move across long distances and transport barnacles and microalgae that cling to it. In 2001, rafts of pumice created during the eruption of a volcano near Tonga eventually reached Australia. That's cool. Do you have any secrets for me? No? Anything over there? Alright, thank you. Thank you for your time and your secrets.
For several hours I sat thinking or brooding in the boat, which lay upon its side and afforded a slight shade as the sun moved across the heavens. As the day progressed, the ground lost some of its stickiness and seemed likely to dry sufficiently for travelling purposes in a short time. That night I slept but little, and the next day I made for myself a pack containing food and water, preparatory to an overland journey in search of the vanished sea and possible rescue.
Okay, secrets. Secrets? Secrets. I don't think there's no secrets here.
On the third morning, I found the soil dry enough to walk upon with ease. The odor of the fish was maddening, but I was too much concerned with graver things to mind so slight an evil, and set out boldly for an unknown goal.
Okay, you have to hold a secret. How about you? Do you have a secret? Okay then. I find it very hard to believe that this thing doesn't hold a secret. No? Oh. Why don't you hold any secrets? Okay then.
All day I forged steadily westward, guided by a faraway hummock which rose higher than any other elevation on the rolling desert.
Okay, one of these has to have a secret. Hey Nick, how you doing? Welcome in. Right, you have to hold a secret. Look at you, you're disgusting. Why can't I find any secrets? Is there a secret in the sky? No? Okay. I'm disgusting. Your face is disgusting. I'm sorry, that wasn't very nice, was it? I'm trying to find secrets and they're not letting me find the secrets. But I hope that you are having a wonderful day today. Sorry I haven't been in your stream last week. I was not very well.
And on the following day still travelled toward the hummock, though that object seemed scarcely nearer than when I had first espied it.
Right, there has to be a secret on the gigantic worm, right? Knew it. The horrors of the ocean. The creator of the Cthulhu mythos and the fictional underworld city of Riley was convinced that life could not exist at the bottom of the ocean. Oh, I found this one. I might do Jill Valentine cosplay stream for Halloween, but I'm afraid of being too sexy. That is a fear. That's a legit fear. I would be very careful. You don't want to get too like sexualized and whatnot, you know?
By the fourth evening, I attained the base of the mound, which turned out to be much higher than it had appeared from a distance.
I don't know what I'm going to do for Halloween. Like, my face is scary enough as it is. I don't really need to add anything to it. Do you get my vibe?
An intervening valley setting it out in sharper relief from the general surface. Too weary to ascend, I slept in the shadow of the hill. I know not why my dreams were so wild that night, but ere the waning and fantastically gibbous moon had risen far above the eastern plain, I was awake in a cold perspiration, determined to sleep no more.
Plus, I think I'd have to shave my chest. Oh, you can't be shaving your chest. You can't be doing that.
Situations as I had experienced were too much for me to endure again, and in the glow of the moon I saw how unwise I had been to travel by day. Without the glare of the parching sun, my journey would have cost me less energy.
Why not? Because then you just...
I now felt quite
you take away everything that is you. You know what I mean?
Sunset. Picking up my pack, I started for the crest of the eminence.
Okay, I need secrets. Right there. The loner. Contrary to popular opinion, Lovecraft was not an ever-frowning, eccentric, grumpy loner. He considered himself to be a person who appreciated humour. Moreover, he would often meet with his friends in an apartment or at various cafes in Brooklyn and Manhattan. At times his social life was so intensive his work would suffer for months. Imagine like having that much of a social life. I actually imagine. There was a point when he finally decided he needed to put an end to daily meetings and loitering in New York's cafeterias and resorted to hiding at home and reading with the main room light turned off, pretending he wasn't there whenever a friend knocked on his door. He also had another method of deterring his guests, which involved getting them in a bathrobe. Oh, greeting them in a bathrobe, not getting them in a bathrobe. My bad. With an unmade bed visible in the background and piles of papers scattered across the floor. That's actually genius. Genius. I got a Manscaped shaver last week. I shaved all that off. Well, you're not a man now, are you? I'm joking. Chest hair doesn't determine a man before anyone goes for me and attacks me.
I have said that the unbroken monotony of the rolling plain was a source of vague horror to me.
Nick's face is a vague horror to me.
But I think my horror was greater when I gained the summit of the mound and looked down the other side into an immeasurable pit or canyon, whose black recesses the moon had not yet soared high enough to illumine. I felt myself on the edge of the world, peering over the rim into a fathomless chaos of eternal night.
But the sex lady in the advert said it's sexy for men to have no ball hair. I mean, everyone has their own thoughts and opinions on that. I'm not telling you what mine is.
Through my terror ran curious reminiscences of Paradise Lost.
Although, have you ever heard the... I'm not sure what you'd call it, it's like a poem, like a story, like a short whatever, about a meatball, and it drops from the counter and it rolls across the floor. Like, just imagine a meatball rolling across the floor and it picks up a few stray hairs along the way.
That's Satan's hideous climb through the unfashioned realms of darkness.
That's not completely off, just trimmed knee. I don't need to know that. I don't want to know that. My candle doesn't want to know that. It's just burning merrily to itself. We don't need to subject it to this type of talk. Aight?
As the moon climbed higher in the sky, I began to see that the slopes of the valley were not quite so perpendicular as I had imagined.
I know it's spooky season, but that's a little bit too spook. Too spook for me. Secrets? I thought this would be a perfect place for a secret. Guess not.
Ledges and outcroppings of rock afforded fairly easy footholds for a descent. Whilst after a drop of only a few hundred feet, the declivity became very gradual.
Okay, secrets. No secrets. Sadness. I did my nose hairs to you, and not as much as I'd like. It tickles my nose and makes my eyes water. To be fair, fucking nose hairs is something that I can't do. It hurts too much. It makes me cry.
Deeps, where no light had yet penetrated. All at once, my attention was captured by a vast and singular object on the opposite slope, which rose steeply about 100 yards ahead of me. An object that gleamed whitely in the newly bestowed rays of the ascending moon.
Secrets. I need your secrets. When you're happy and skies are grey. They're not giving me the secrets. They're not giving me secrets.
That it was merely a gigantic piece of stone, I soon assured myself. but I was conscious of a distinct impression that its contour and position were not altogether the work of nature.
What secret? Oh, Nick, it's like you've not even been here the entire time. So, we're looking for lore, and secrets, but it's not giving me the secrets.
Fills me with sensations I cannot express.
Like, I want the secrets. We're looking for like a wheat kind of shape.
For despite its enormous magnitude and its position in an abyss which had yawned at the bottom of the sea since the world was young,
I don't want to know your secrets, dude.
I perceived beyond a doubt that the strange object was a well-shaped monolith, whose massive bulk had known the workmanship and perhaps the worship of living and thinking creatures.
Now I'm comfy.
Dazed and frightened, yet not without a certain thrill of the scientist's or archaeologist's delight, I examined my surroundings more closely.
But how are you though? How's your Monday going? You didn't tell me. Still not giving me any secrets. Fine. You keep your secrets.
The moon, now near the zenith, shone weirdly and vividly above the towering steeps that hemmed in the chasm.
There has to be secrets here.
A far-flung body of water flowed at the bottom, winding out of sight.
I'm at work, 12-hour shifts, 6 all at you.
Slapping my feet as I stood on the slope. Across
That's
the
disgusting.
chasm, the wavelets washed the base of the cyclopean monolith, on whose surface I could now trace both inscriptions and crude sculptures.
Okay, nothing. Still nothing. Not gonna get any lore about the water. What spring Lovecraft drank from? No? Alright then.
The writing was in a system of hieroglyphs.
Where do you work, Nick, if you don't mind me asking?
Anything I'd ever seen in books. Consisting for the most part of conventionalized aquatic symbols such as fishes, eels, octopi, crustaceans, mollusks, whales, and the like. Several characters obviously represented marine things which are unknown to the modern world, but whose decomposing forms I had observed on the ocean-risen plain. It was the pictorial carving, however, that did most to hold me spellbound.
Yeah, we had this one. We got that one. Okay, anything else though? No.
Plainly visible across the intervening water, on account of their enormous size, were an array of bas-reliefs whose subjects would have excited the envy of a Doré. I think that these things were supposed to depict men, at least a certain sort of men, though the creatures were shown disporting like fishes in the waters of some marine grotto, or paying homage at some monolithic shrine which appeared to be under the waves as well. Of their faces and forms I dare not speak in detail, for the mere remembrance makes me grow faint.
Ah, that's cool.
Grotesque beyond the imagination of a Poe or a bulwark.
Like, is it like hard work, or is it pretty chilled?
Shockingly wide and flabby lips.
Oh, the flabby lips are back.
Bulging eyes, and other features less pleasant to recall. Curiously enough, they seem to have been chiseled badly out of proportion with their scenic background. For one of the creatures was shown in the act of killing a whale, represented as but little larger than himself. I remarked, as I say, their grotesqueness and strange size, but in a moment decided that they were merely the imaginary gods of some primitive fishing or seafaring tribe.
I mean, that's what I figured, but
Some tribe whose last descendant had perished eras before the first ancestor of the Piltdown or Neanderthal man was born.
oh, I'm hungry. Right, got you. Okay, the Piltdown Man. Lovecraft would often use the latest scientific discoveries as inspiration for his works. He would even update his stories at the last moment in order to make sure they reflected the latest breakthroughs. Unfortunately, this method was not without its flaws. After Lovecraft's death, the Piltdown Man discovery mentioned in Dagon turned out to be a... what the fuck does that word say? Philanthropological fraud. Nailed it. If it's working, it's easy. If it's breaking down machines, it's harder. Oh, so like you gotta like work with machines and shit? Yeah, I'd be out. I'd be like banging it, be like, work. And then if it didn't have that, well, I tried. In 1912, Charles Dawson, an amateur archaeologist, announced that he had discovered the missing link between ape and man, the fossilized remains of a previously unknown early human. Years later, they turned out to be a forgery, but by that point, the fraud had already managed to negatively affect the early research on human evolution. In the year when the discovery took place, the majority of the scientific community believed Dawson indeed found the missing link. In 1953, the Time magazine published evidence providing that Dawson was a con man. It turned out that the fossil of the previously unknown early human consisted of a human skull, the jaw of an orangutan, and chimpanzee teeth. This is cool. We're playing a game and we're learning things.
Passed beyond the conception of the most daring anthropologist. I stood musing whilst the moon cast queer reflections on the silent channel before me. Then, suddenly, I saw it.
Oh god, here we go. Jump scare imminent, guys. Prepare yourselves.
Rise to the surface. The thing slid into view above the dark waters.
Prepare yourself.
Loathsome. It darted like a stupendous monster of nightmares to the monolith, about which it flung its gigantic scaly arms, while it bowed its hideous head and gave vent to certain measured sounds.
If I do a Jill cosplay, oh, for fuck's sake, yes, I can send you a pair of mine, it's fine. You wear them on your head. Hiya, buddy.
I think I went mad then. Of my frantic ascent of the slope and cliff, and of my delirious journey back to the stranded boat, I remember little.
Okay, there has to be secrets now. We're running from like a monster. Fine, no secrets. It's a fun pastime, isn't it?
I believe I sang a great deal and laughed oddly when I was unable to sing.
No. Alright.
I have indistinct recollections of a great storm sometime after I reached the boat. At any rate, I know that I heard pearls of thunder and other tones which nature utters only in her wildest moods. When I came out of the shadows, I was in a San Francisco hospital, brought thither by the captain of the American ship which had picked up my boat in mid-ocean. In my delirium, I had said much, but found that my words had been given scant attention. Of any land upheaval in the Pacific, my rescuers knew nothing, nor did I deem it necessary to insist upon a thing which I knew they could not believe.
Right, yeah, we got that one. Okay, anything else? Oh, got ya. In defense of Dagon, in 1921, Lovecraft released a series of 3 essays: The Defense Reopens, The Defense Remains Open, and Final Words. Later publishes a collection titled In Defense of Dagon, in which he rebuked a series of criticisms detected in his works. Some notable quotes include, "I paint what I dream, and will let the public settle the rest amongst themselves." Mr. Monday asks the raison whatever of Dagon, "I will give it, purely and simply to reproduce a mood. Its object is the simplest in all art, portrayal." What? "The physical horrors of war, no matter how extreme and unprecedented, hardly have a bearing on the entirely different realm of supernatural terror. Ghosts are still ghosts. The mind can get more thrills from unrealities than from realities." If in this essay, Lovecraft touches upon the topics of atheism, materialism, the quest for truth, and the love of science. That's cool AF. Okay, anything else? Yep, I think I found you. The Atheist. Lovecraft considers himself an atheist and absolute materialist, which he attributed partly to his early childhood interest in astronomy and science in general. In his own words, "I am indeed an absolute materialist so far as actual belief goes, with not a shred of credence in any form of supernaturalism, religion, spiritualism, transcendentalism, better what? Metamorphosis or immortality." What the fuck does that all mean? All I say is I think it is damned unlikely that anything like central cosmic will or a spiritual world or an eternal survival of personality exists. They are the most preposterous and unjustified of all the guesses which can be made about the universe, and I am not enough of a hair splitter to pretend that I don't regard them as arrant and negligible moonshine. This is really hard to fucking read. I apologise. "In theory, I am an agnostic, but pretending the appearance of radical evidence, I must be classed practically and provisionally as an atheist." Atheists are people who don't... I know what an atheist is. I'm an atheist. I just can't read. Okay, anything else in here? Seems to be a room of secrets. Anything on the ceiling? No? Are we good? Lovely.
Once I sought out a
I believe you are a god.
ethnologist.
I mean, I am a god.
And amused him with peculiar questions regarding the ancient Philistine legend of Dagon, the fish god.
Goddamn awful. Oh shit. Ouch. How could you do that to me? I'm so sad now. I'm gonna go jump out a window like this dude did. I can't believe you done that to me. Okay, anything? I don't think we've got anything else on here. One nil to Nicky Poos.
But soon perceiving that he was hopelessly conventional, I did not press my inquiries.
You certainly did get me there, well done. Oh. The Marketer. Lovecraft's attempts to find a job in 1925 were influenced by advice he received from friends. Among others, he started freelancing for a marketing magazine where he would write announcements and commercials. Feel free to judge his copywriting skills for yourself. That's what I get for coming at your face. I'll fucking go at you all the time. don't know how you're gonna take that. From an ad for Curtis Woodwork. Curtis Woodwork embraces both the usual structural units and the cleverest contrivances of built-in or permanent furniture, such as bookcases, dressers. I thought that was a desserts then. I was like, oh, he bakes desserts. Buffets and cupboards. Every model is conceived and created with the purest art, ripest scholarship, and the mellowest craftsmanship which energetic enterprise can command, and made to conform rigidly to the architecture of each particular type of home. The cost, considering the quality, is amazingly low, and a trademark of the individual prices represents any substitution by careless contractors. Do you like being degraded? I mean, we all have, you know, our... I think I read this one, didn't I? Yeah. You know, we all have our own, like, kinks and quirks. That's completely fine. I am not here to judge. Do you know what I mean? Oh. That's why it brought us over here. The clock. The scientist. These days, the word scientist is a widely accepted term, but at the time Dagon was published, it was a subject to a wide debate. After the author used it in the story, critics pointed out that the man of science was a more appropriate term to employ. He admitted, in defence of Dagon, that if Dagon were to be reprinted, he would indeed use the phrase they suggested. Scientist was coined as an analogue to artist, to be used when referring to those studying different branches of science. Yet in the 19th and early 20th century, scientific researchers in Great Britain and the United States were of the opinion that man of science, resembling the term man of letters, was the only proper choice. Wait, that's the British hunters in Supernatural. What do you mean? Is this a game or a book? It's a visual novel, so a bit of both. It was a gender specific, indicating that science was an endeavour to be pursued by only one sex. The term scientist became more accepted only after World War II, and man of science started fading into obscurity as an old-fashioned synonym. But no, I'm not gonna say anything because that'd be controversial. Okay, we good? Anything else? The fact that that final trophy hasn't popped up yet is kind of worrying me. I think I've missed one.
It is at
or
night,
two.
especially when the moon is gibbous and waning, that I see the thing. I tried morphine, but the drug has given only transient surcease, and has drawn me into its clutches as a hopeless slave. So now, I am to end it all, having written a full account for the information or the contemptuous amusement of my fellow men.
Oh, wait, no, I got that one. I think I missed one.
Often, I ask myself if it could not all have been a pure phantasm. A mere freak of fever, as I lay sun-stricken and raving in the
Hey,
open
Oscar, how you doing?
after my escape from the German man of war.
How goes it? It's going good, thank you. How's your Monday
Yes,
going?
I ask myself, but ever does there come before me a hideously vivid vision.
They're pretty good?
whereby
Nice.
I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling and floundering on its slimy bed, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving
Just
their
been
own
gaming and working.
detestable likenesses on submarine obelisks of
Nice.
water-soaked granite.
I have a Minecraft story.
When they may rise
Bear
up
with me.
billows to drag down into their reeking talons the remnants of puny, war-exhausted mankind.
When it's not so, intense.
Of a day
Bear with.
when the land shall sink, and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
Right, okay, we can kind of deal with the slightly intense music just while there's an army of jellyfish going towards the Statue of Liberty or whatever. Anywho, right, so Minecraft, right, story time. So I finally got a Silk Touch pickaxe, right? I was like, I can now take bee nests, right? So I got my bee nest with my bee inside it, ran back to my base, plonked my bee nest on like a trunk, put my campfire underneath it, right? And I think the bee may have died from the flames, so I may have roasted a bee alive. But then, right, I brought a second bee back with a flower, right? It took for ages to, bring this bastard home, right? And then went online I didn't go online, but it went on this morning, right? And it had disappeared. I was like, where the fuck's my bee gone? So apparently, like, bees just keep on despawning, so I'm fuming. Spent all that time leading this bee back home, and he just despawned, so fuming. And then as I was working on my, game, please. As I was working on my wall house, roof, I looked over. Now, the top of my house, I've got glass panes, right? And there's the bee, just in the roof, just flying into the glass plane, because he'd obviously got into my house, flown up, and then couldn't pathfind his way back down. So I was like, you stupid bee. And then I'd taken all the bee nests down, so I had to let the bee out, go and get the bee nest again, plonk the bee nest there, and now he's happily making pollen and, but he was just in my roof, just chilling. I'm like, what are you doing? Get out of the roof. So that's my absolute mare with bees. I've roasted one alive, and I've kept one trapped in my roof. I'm a great beekeeper. Okay, any secrets here? No. Okay. He just want to chill inside, didn't he? He was like, I don't want to work. I'm gonna hide.
The end is near. I hear a noise at the door, as of some immense...
See, the honey farm is going well. It's going brilliantly, thank you. I'm still missing a few secrets.
It shall not find me. God, that hand!
Does the hand have a secret?
The window! The window!
If there's a lot of... Well, now that you've mentioned it, I suppose... it does. Right, I think we still missed a few secrets, which I'm quite sad about. Oh, we missed one secret.
It is at night. I tried, but the drug has... So now...
There we go. There's the final one. Nice. That's it. That's all the secrets and all the trivia. Alright, the Elder Sign. At another house where people were stirring, he asked questions about the gods and whether they danced often under Lyrian. But the farmer and his wife would only make the Elder Sign and tell them and tell him the way to Nir and Ulthar. The dream quest of unknown, Kadath HP, blah blah blah. Okay, Elder Sign is a protective symbol that can be found in various works of pop culture, usually represented by a 5-pointed star with an eye flame symbol in its centre. For example, in games inspired by H.P. Lovecraft writings, it's supposed to ward away all kinds of cosmic horrors. However, this is a later version of the sign, created by the author's friend, writer August Derleth. In our game, we've used the original symbol as designed by Lovecraft in the form of a 6-pointed branch, which he sometimes included in letters to his friends. Well done, game. I like that game. Pog.
I ask myself if it could not all have been a mere. I cannot think of the deep sea without shuddering at the nameless things that may at this very moment be crawling, worshipping their ancient stone idols and carving their own
that's just no.
Submarine obelisks of water-soaked granite.
Like, did you see the girth on that thing?
I dream of a day when they may rise above the billows to drag down into their reeking tower.
That had some girth.
Sink, and the dark ocean shall ascend amidst universal pandemonium.
True though, innit? Well, alright, that's the 3rd time we've completed this game now.
It shall not find me.
To be fair, this has been a really fun game, so fair play. Oh god, that hand!
God, that hand!
I even know the lines. The window! The window!
The window! The window!
It's like I wrote this game. That's a big hand. Big hand, big peepee. But yeah, lovely. There we go, guys.